Now, let me just start off by saying there are far too many college bowl games as is. As in, no joke, there are at least 40 that are going to be going down between now and the big national championship game on January 9th. So there's only about, what, 120 something teams in NCAA? So that means 80 of them make the postseason. That is absurd. And these games mean absolutely nothing. So, I really don't care about the outcome of the Alamo Bowl or the Cactus Bowl or my favorite, the Russell Athletic Bowl. But I do figure, it is worth our respective time to look at the big New Year's Eve Six Bowl games. Except not all of them actually played on New Year's Eve. Only like three of them are. But these are traditionally the six biggest college bowl games of them all. So I decided to just go down the line here and make a few quick predictions. All right. So the first bowl game I actually care about is the Orange Bowl. And that's going to be December 30th. And that's going to be Michigan taking on Florida State. Now, Florida State, they had the loss against Louisville. And they had some other pretty bad ones down the stretch. And Michigan, of course, their season came down to that double overtime loss to Ohio State. So I think for a contest like this, which team actually has more to prove? And who has more momentum going further? When you lose the way Michigan did, a double overtime game which knocks you out of the national playoffs, that really does a lot to demoralize your team. You really don't have a whole lot to fight for. And some people say, well, if you lose it, clearly you want to go out in the bowl game, you want to dominate whoever you play, let the playoff selection committee know that you're not messing around. But in this case, I don't know. I just don't really see Michigan really have much of an incentive to go out here and play very well. Whereas I think Florida State actually has been playing pretty cohesively down the stretch. And I think they're in a pretty good position, with a good draft class, kind of get back to winning ways next year. So I'm going to go with Florida State to win this one. I think they win 24-17. I got that vibe. All right, the first of the two playoff games. We got Alabama taking on Washington. Now, really, when you look at the way Alabama's played this year, the only time they really were in jeopardy of losing was against Ole Miss. And that's when you had Chad Kelly down there and just gunning out Joe Montana sports talk football on the Sega Genesis style. You can't beat Alabama with a run. We know that. Everybody's tried. Doesn't happen. So I think Washington, with their aerial offense, they're probably in the best position of any of the four teams in the playoffs to unseat Alabama. And I do believe that the first couple of quarters, maybe even going into the half, Washington might get the lead. But I think the longer this thing goes on, the more Alabama's defense is going to wear down Washington, the more pressure they're going to put on their quarterback. And as soon as the long ball stops working, which will stop working like around the third quarter, that's when Alabama's going to put the blitz on, and they're going to start running the ball, and Washington just can't stop them. Still should be a lot of points on the board. I've got this one being a slugfest with Alabama winning 42-35. Fiesta Bowl, also on New Year's Eve. We've got Ohio State taking on Clemson. And I think this one, there's some interesting elements to it. Deshaun Watson, he's going to scramble for a lot of yards. But I just like the general rushing attack of Ohio State a lot better. I think Deshaun Watson going up against J.T. Parrott, that's a really good quarterback duel. And I think in a scenario like that, when you have really, really good quarterbacking on both sides of the ball, you look at who has a better run game and who has a better defense. And I think we can all agree that belongs to the Buckeyes. So for that, I'm going to say Ohio State wins it 34-18. Moving along, we got the Cotton Bowl. That's going to be Western Michigan taking on Wisconsin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, yeah, there are 6 games. So Wisconsin, they're kind of the same predicament Michigan is because they're a really, really good team, and they might be somewhat incentivized to go out there and put a hurting on somebody, just for proxy revenge for what happened to them in the playoff rankings. But at the same time, I don't really think they have a whole lot to play for. I think they're going to be going in there. I think they're probably going to underestimate what the Broncos can do. And I think this is a game where, out of all the Big Six bowl games that are scheduled, I think this is the one that can really just turn into like a runaway, train wreck of a game very, very early on for Wisconsin. I think they can get a little bit too cocky. They can do some bad runs. They can lose some balls. They can throw some interceptions. And I think the defense for Wisconsin is going to play very well, but something's going to happen around halftime where the wheels are going to fall off the wagon. The Broncos will put their foot on the gas. And from there, I think it's going to be all. What division are they in? It doesn't even matter. Well, I got Western Michigan winning. I think they'll win 31-14 in a huge blowout. And then we'll start giving these guys the Boise State treatment. So hang in there. We'll see. I think they're a team that's going to be good for a long time. Rose Bowl, also on January 2nd. Penn State against USC. And I think this is pretty much the exact same game as Western Michigan against Wisconsin. Penn State, they're like, the 5th, 6th ranked team in the country. They're kind of miffed they didn't make the playoffs. Not as miffed about being a safe haven for child molesters, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I think USC wins this one because they've been playing, I think, incredibly well down the stretch. They sucked the beginning of the year. That's what happens when you have Alabama on the first game of the season. You know, you'll have some bad times early on. But down the stretch, they've just been playing very, very, very well. And I think it's that age-old conundrum. Penn State, they got the steam lit out of their whatever you lit steam out of up there in Penn State. And I think that's going to give them not much incentive to play as well as they have been. And I think USC really wants to get their name out there and kind of get some interest generated for next season. So they go out there and they just run, pass, and just pour the points on. I think it's going to be a huge blowout. I got the Trojans winning 54-21. All right, the Sugar Bowl, also on January 2nd. Oklahoma against Auburn, and good Lord, this is a mismatch. To kind of give you an idea of just how much of a down year it was in the SEC for every team not named Alabama, I think Auburn has the second best record overall of any team in the SEC, and they're still 8-4. So that tells you just how bad things are down here in Dixie. This will not be a good thing to happen to Auburn. I think Baker Mayfield's one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and you got D.D. Westbrook, probably the best receiver in the country. D.D. Westbrook is his name, right? I apologize if I'm making something up. So, and Auburn has not a very good secondary. So I think you kind of know where this is going, but these guys are trying to elevate their name in the NFL draft. They're going to be putting up a million bajillion points. Auburn doesn't stand a chance. I got Oklahoma win this one 56-16. It's just going to be a disaster in every way you can think of it. Which brings us, of course, to our national championship game, January 9th. I've got it Alabama against Ohio State. So it's another Nick Saban, Urban Meyer throwdown. So when you look at what this team can do, you might want to give Ohio State the nod with the aerial attack, but I think Alabama is slightly more consistent running the ball. So when you have these variables, I don't think it's like a huge advantage. I don't think Ohio State's pass game is that much better than Alabama, but I don't think Alabama's run game is that much better than Ohio State. So you have those two things that are very, very evenly matched. The tiebreaker, of course, is defense. And unless Alabama's playing Chad Kelly for whatever reason, you're not going to get a lot of points and you're not going to get a lot of yardage against Alabama because their defense is just so ghastly. So clearly Alabama, the better of the defensive teams in this showcase. I think it's going to be very, very tight in the first two quarters, but as the game drags on, we're going to see Ohio State get gassed. We're going to see the Tide defense hold up a lot better than the Ohio State offense, and all I got to do is get a couple more touchdowns on the board. This thing will be done by the end of the third quarter. I've got Alabama winning 30-16 to pick up their second consecutive national championship and like their 17th, 16th, something like that overall. So there we go. Not really being too adventurous in any of my picks. I'm just going with what I've been witnessing all season long, because I've been doing this since week 1. So every week for the last 14 weeks, I've been covering this, and this is what it all comes down to. So feel free to take my picks. Go to your bookie. Actually, don't go to your bookie because gambling is bad. Put your money in the stock market where there's less protective measures, and you can destroy your family a whole lot quicker. That's what I say. But if you want to, If you want to put a friendly wager with someone, I would say these are some pretty hard picks I would go with. And that's it. We're done with the college football season for 2016. Let's get through all these meaningless bowl games, and from there it's only about, I don't know, 200 some days until kickoff of 2017 college football season. I'll be there, if you plan on it, I guess.